The movie opens in 1945, with a plane experiencing difficulties and being forced to land on an island in Japan. The landing is overseen by a seasoned pilot named Shikishima, who is accompanied by his team. Upon landing, Shikishima tasks a senior mechanic with repairing the plane and decides to explore the island. He discovers unusual, dead fish in the sea. As night falls and he returns to his team, an emergency alarm rings out, causing panic among the crew. The cause of their fear soon becomes apparent: Godzilla. The sight of the creature sends the team into a frenzy. The mechanic suggests using their machine gun to kill Godzilla and urges Shikishima to do so. However, when Shikishima gets close to Godzilla, he freezes and is unable to fire the machine gun. The rest of the soldiers resort to using their smaller guns, which only angers Godzilla. The creature advances, crushing and killing the team members like ants. Amidst the chaos, a powerful explosion throws Shikishima far away, knocking him unconscious. Godzilla roars triumphantly after decimating the team. When Shikishima regains consciousness the next morning, he finds his entire team dead. The mechanic, who miraculously survived Godzilla's attack, is gathering the bodies. He blames Shikishima for the deaths, accusing him of failing to attack Godzilla. Shikishima is deeply saddened by this accusation. Soon after, Shikishima and the remaining pilots are sent back to Tokyo, where they find their homes destroyed due to bombings. Shikishima learns from a neighbor that his parents were among the casualties. As he wanders through the ruins, he encounters a woman being chased by the police. She hands him a child before running off. When he later meets the woman, named Nori, she explains that she took the child in after her parents were killed in the explosion. Touched by her story, Shikishima allows Nori and the child to stay with him. Over the next year, they live together as a makeshift family. Shikishima receives a job offer from the government to locate and disarm underwater bombs left over from World War II. Despite the risks, he accepts the job for the promise of a better future. However, he soon discovers that the government has deceived them about the resources they would be provided for the mission. During one of his missions, Shikishima has a nightmare about Godzilla's attack on his team. Nori comforts him, and they continue their lives, with Nori finding a job and their neighbor agreeing to look after the child. However, news of America's nuclear attacks and the subsequent strengthening of Godzilla casts a shadow over their happiness. When Shikishima and his team discover a ship destroyed by Godzilla in 1945, they realize that Godzilla is coming for them. In a desperate attempt to stop Godzilla, Shikishima and the doctor launch bombs at the creature, but to no avail. The wire to detonate one of the bombs is cut, forcing Shikishima to shoot Godzilla in the mouth with a machine gun, causing an explosion. Godzilla's mouth is partially destroyed in the attack, but he quickly regenerates and stands tall again. Before long, he retaliates against the ship. The Japanese army arrives from the other side and begins to attack Godzilla relentlessly. This angers Godzilla, who dives under the ship and starts to capsize it. Despite the chaos, the army continues their assault, injuring Godzilla and forcing him back into the water. Godzilla retaliates by creating massive waves that flip the ship upside down. He then emerges from the water, roaring loudly, which terrifies Shikishima's team. Godzilla then retreats back into the water. Shikishima is severely injured in the attack. When he returns home, Nori is deeply concerned. She confronts Shikishima about his constant worry and urges him to share his burdens with her. Shikishima confesses his guilt over the 1945 incident, where his fear prevented him from attacking Godzilla, resulting in the death of his entire team. Nori comforts him, reminding him that fate is inevitable and that survival often serves a greater purpose. Meanwhile, Godzilla returns to the sea and heads towards another ship. The crew of the ship also begins to attack Godzilla. Back at home, Shikishima hears an emergency alarm on the radio announcing Godzilla's attack on a city. Worried for Nori, who had gone to the city for work, Shikishima rushes to find her. In the city, Godzilla wreaks havoc. Nori, who is on a train, watches in horror as Godzilla lifts the entire train. He begins to crush the carriage where Nori is, causing her to jump into the water to escape. Some reporters, who were filming Godzilla, were killed when Godzilla destroyed their tower. Shikishima finds Nori and they join the fleeing crowd, with Godzilla and the army's tanks close behind. Godzilla, enraged by the attacks, begins to emit blue light from his back and wings, releasing destructive rays and waves. This causes massive explosions that engulf people and buildings. Nori pushes Shikishima out of the way, sacrificing herself to the destruction. When Shikishima emerges from the chaos, he finds Nori missing and the city destroyed. Grief-stricken, he cries out in anguish. Back at home, Shikishima mourns Nori and takes care of the child. The doctor informs everyone that the government has chosen them and other soldiers to stop stop Godzilla and reveals a plan. They are to attach gas cylinders to Godzilla and send him into the depths of the sea. The pressure at such depths should kill him. If this fails, they have a backup plan to attach balloons to the cylinders, which will rapidly bring Godzilla back to the surface, causing him to die from the pressure change. Shikishima volunteers his mechanic friend to prepare a plane full of weapons for the mission. He finds the mechanic at his house, who initially blames Shikishima for the 1945 incident. Shikishima admits his guilt, but explains that they now have a chance to correct their mistake and save millions of lives. The mechanic agrees to help and begins to prepare the plane. After a few days, Shikishima finds the child with a painting. She looks sad in the painting and admits to missing her mother. Shikishima comforts her and writes a letter, which he leaves a letter with her before she falls asleep. He then meets the mechanic, who has successfully prepared several planes for the mission. Shikishima boards one of the planes, reassured by the mechanic that it is well equipped for the task ahead. As he settles into the plane, he can't help but feel a mix of determination and apprehension. He knows the mission is dangerous, but he also knows it's necessary. With the memory of Nori's sacrifice fresh in his mind, he steels himself for the battle against Godzilla. In 1945, Godzilla decimated Shikishima's comrades. Today, Shikishima is determined to avenge them. He finds solace in a painting made by the child, which depicts the three of them. He misses Nori deeply. The next day, the child gives a letter from Shikishima to the neighbor. The letter, along with some money, asks the neighbor to take care of the child. The neighbor realizes that Shikishima might not return from his mission. Meanwhile, all the ships set sail towards their designated location. They use devices to create noise underwater, intending to provoke Godzilla. Shikishima takes off in his plane and flies close to Godzilla, attacking him to draw his attention. Godzilla starts following his plane, and Shikishima leads him towards the sea and their main location. When the doctor sees them approaching, he alerts all the ships to get ready. As the ships get closer to Godzilla, his body starts glowing with a blue light again. He releases rays into the sea, causing a massive explosion. However, this time, the ships are unaffected. They start dropping cylinders into the water, attaching them all over Godzilla's body. His attention is focused on Shikishima's plane, allowing them to attach the cylinders and sink Godzilla quickly. His body descends to 1,500 meters in the water before he stops. Everyone rejoices, thinking Godzilla is dead. However, Godzilla is not defeated so easily. He starts pulling on the ropes attached to the cylinders, indicating that he is still alive. As per their backup plan, they start inflating the balloons on the cylinders, causing Godzilla to ascend rapidly. But after reaching 800 meters, he stops and starts popping the balloons one by one. They try to pull the ropes to bring Godzilla up. After a while, he surfaces, but his body is unscathed. He roars loudly, preparing to release another wave of rays. Everyone is terrified, seeing their impending doom. Despite their fear, Shikishima continues to fly his plane towards Godzilla. He remembers Nori and his fallen comrades, and is filled with a desire for revenge. He flies his plane into Godzilla's mouth. The plane is destroyed, causing a massive explosion that blows up Godzilla's face. Everyone is saddened, thinking Shikishima is dead. But then they see him descending on a parachute. Everyone is relieved that he is alive. The mechanic, who hears about this through the radio, is also overjoyed. He remembers telling Shikishima about the parachute in the plane. Shikishima, descending on the parachute, watches as Godzilla's body, emitting a blue light, disintegrates into many pieces. The pieces fall into the water, marking the death of Godzilla. Everyone is overjoyed at Shikishima's bravery and salutes him. After the mission is completed, they return to the base, where everyone is celebrating. The mechanic meets Shikishima and embraces him, praising his bravery. The neighbor and the child also come to meet him. The neighbor hands him a letter, which surprises and delights Shikishima. The letter is from Nori, who is alive and waiting for them at home. They go home and meet Nori, who survived the attack but is severely injured. They are overjoyed to see each other. Nori asks Shikishima if the war is over, to which he replies affirmatively and says that he was successful. They decide to live together as a family. However, there is bad news. In the depths of the sea, the pieces of Godzilla's body are regenerating and recombining to form Godzilla again. This means that despite their victory, Godzilla is still alive. What happens next will be revealed in the next part.